Okay, so today we're going to start on our builder's hut. So you'll find when you start building an area, you often end up with all of these things scattered around because you need them. And so we're going to put together a hut that's going to put all this stuff together, and then we're going to be able to magic pencil it up and move it from area to area when we're doing a big build. So I just laid out a 20 by 20 section. You can make it as big or as small as you want. The only thing to think about is if you want to destroy it quickly, doing it probably no more than 20 by 20 and then 10 high means you can get a golem to smash it up in about a minute. You can go bigger or smaller, but I think 20 by 20 is a good idea. First thing, because we want to make sure that we can easily access everything, is we want to grab up all of that stuff. I do recommend laying it down like that. I didn't just do it for the video, just to give you an idea of how much space you'll need. And then go through and we'll just start trying to place some stuff down. I want to make it at least a little bit decorative, so we'll go through as well and try and section it off into little rooms. Again, if you want to just make it a platform, that's fine, but here you can see I've started to sort of play with making it look nice as well. If you're going to move it from area to area, you want to build that's going to be accessible, and you'll get used to where things are within the building as well. So we're just going to keep going around and putting in everything we need, and I will move things on occasion. If you want to just do a big platform to make it easy to move, like I was saying, that's fine, but it is nice to make it a little bit fancy. So this is sort of what I've gone with. And now I think we're going to put on a roof. As I said, remember, we probably don't want it more than 10 by 10 high, 20 by 20, 10 high. So this is 8, so we can get away with putting a few more on top. You could do any kind of roof you want, obviously, but I'm actually trying to keep this relatively simple, so using one of the styles we'd used in my original simple roofs, we're just going to do a row that's a cap, I guess, and then, as you can see, just a lip out, and that's going to just give it a little bit more definition. But we are also going to go back here, I've decided, and we're going to make ourselves a little canopy. So I was just playing around at this point, but I found a decently useful system, but you will need the chisel to really make it look effective. I tried to do stripes here, but solid block colors works as well, and both the canopy pieces can be dyed. So to do the canopy, I played around a little bit, but I've used the wooden brackets on the very back tile, and I have chiseled the blocks down to just the bottom half. Now, because these canopy pieces don't tile, we have to kind of awkwardly turn them and place them. And then after that, what I'm going to do is pop a block of the stripy blocks on top of the brackets. And we're going to be able to chisel that down diagonally, and then that way it's going to look a little bit more like a canopy. And we've put the brick back as that very final square. It might not look as nice from the top, but otherwise you would either have it chiseled and having a gap, or it would be white for that little extra bit. So that actually looks a little bit better, and you can also put like a cap block on top of that as well if you want to make it look a little bit better. So now we can go ahead and sort of chisel in a little bit more of an effect. It doesn't look probably as nice while you're on top building it, but once you are looking at it sort of from underneath and on the side, I think it gives quite a nice effect. The coloured blocks are very bright, but you can obviously experiment quite a bit with, you know, different types of blocks. So now we're starting to put our border just above our lip, and now we've pretty much finished there, that canopy. And we can just connect up the rest of the roof. And we're not going to use any roof tiles, we're just going to have a simple build like this. But we will put some cap blocks on and a little bit of decoration, and we'll use a glass roof. We'll use some bright lights, but the glass roof just means we'll have a little bit extra light during the day. So we're getting close to probably being finished, so I would go around and just check there's nothing you missed. I had actually missed filling in the window behind my cupboards. And we'll talk about how to get a good light source. If you've got the DLC, the fancy lights are a really good source of light. By far they take up the most area of effect. You can always use wall sconces and things, but we're going to try and put in some fancy lights. And the best way to do any type of roof light is to first make yourself like a scaffolding, pretty much. This gives you an idea also of if your light's going to be placed evenly, because sometimes, you know, looking up you think it's even and then you look from the side and it doesn't quite look right. So this way we know that it's going to be a little bit more even. Now with the fancy lights you can always just hang them from the beam, but they are quite large lights. So you can place roof lights like fancy lights and lanterns on the beam straight down like this. Sometimes if they aren't the even or odd number that you're looking for, you might need to put one on either side. But another thing that you can do with the fancy lights is actually kind of embed them into the roof a little bit, because they are quite large. If your roofs aren't super high, they're quite visible. So what we can do to kind of mitigate that is, where we want to place the light, we're going to make a square around it, just with one block empty in the middle. And because these lights are probably the best lights I would say in the game in terms of area of effect, we're just going to need two in here. And so we're going to do those little squares on each section where we want the light to come down, and we're actually going to make it so that we can embed them in the roof. So once we've done that, we want to place a little block over the top of that pole, because that's actually what we're going to be placing the lights in. So we'll just go to sleep so we have some good light to place our lights. And you don't have to use wall brackets like we're going to, they are just decorative. Guess it depends how much you look up. But at least for this it doesn't come into your line of sight as much. So you'll probably need to build a little scaffold on the inside to get up high enough. Using your first person doing this is actually easier than your build binoculars. And what we want to do is just place it up in there. So now, as you can see, that gives off a really good light source, but that isn't a terribly attractive way, and unfortunately if we cover over the middle the light won't work. So it's not an incredibly attractive way to have a beam, so we do have a workaround. So we want to grab out our wooden brackets, or a different type of bracket if you're using stone, and we want to place them on either side. In first person, if you kind of make sure that the arrow's pointing across ways, they're more likely to place properly. And that, once we've got a roof connecting that top layer, will obviously just make it look that little bit nicer than having that sort of blocky effect. Now you don't have to do any of this obviously, but this is just a little tip if you want some good roof lights. And because they are good lights, just two of them is going to give enough light at night. So you can leave those little caps on depending on what type of roof you're doing, or just take them off. The iron parts of the light will stick out a little bit, but you can do a few things like make it into a chimney, depending on what you want to do. Here we're just going to start going around and putting on our glass roof. Like I said, I wanted it personally to be a glass roof just so that it feels even more open when we're working in it, and just make sure we leave a gap for our ladder. I like to keep the ladder there. It's not just for making the roof, particularly in this, because we want it to be the central point of our build. We want to be able to get on the roof so that we can use our windbreaker to easily fly to different areas if we're building in a large space. So once we've done the roof, we'll be able to just go around a little bit and work on a few fancy decorations. Again, if you plan to have this same build all over in lots of different areas, at least at the beginning, and then delete it later when you're getting closer to finishing, you want something that you enjoy being in and something that you can quite easily navigate the layout of and remember the layout of. So make sure that it's what you want. It's going to be your building space. And then we'll talk about magic penciling the entire space up, just the easiest way to do it to make sure that you get all of the blocks in. I'll try and get the next part up in the next couple of days. My computer isn't great, but hopefully tomorrow you'll see the next part.